Hello, good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Rachel Burden and Ben Thompson.
Our headlines today. A surge in coronavirus vaccination bookings as 18 to 20-year-olds sign up for their jab in huge numbers.
Keep our families safe and just be able to get back out there.
For what you can do. You know, probably when that travel opens and things, it'd probably be easier if you have been vaccinated, things like that.
Those in England who are double jabbed and come into contact with COVID may soon be spared 10 days of self-isolation.
How we do like to be beside the seaside. Coastal towns are the biggest winners as the UK economy bounces back from lockdown.
And all eyes will be on Rome later as attention turns to Wales, who'll be looking to seal their spot in the last 16 of Euro 2020 when they take on the might of Italy.
We want to try and win the group, we want to try and win the game. I think that's the best way to approach this, and we'll be doing all we can to do that.
Good morning all. It's another cloudy start for much of England and Wales with some early morning showery rain around. That will slowly ease to sunny spells into the afternoon. For Scotland and Northern Ireland today, it's a case of sunny spells and scattered showers throughout the day. More details coming up shortly.
Morning. Thank you for being with us this morning. It's Sunday the 20th of June. Our top story today, there has been a huge surge in coronavirus bookings by over 18s in England as the government steps up efforts to offer all adults a jab by July the 19th.
Well, it comes as officials in England consider plans to drop the isolation period for anyone who comes into contact with someone infected with the virus, but only if they have received 2 vaccine doses, as Sean Dilley reports.
These were among tens of thousands who turned out in socially distanced lines across England to claim their COVID vaccines during a weekend of walk-in appointments. London's Olympic Stadium has played host to many jubilant crowds in its short life, but few gatherings have meant so much to a country hoping to lift all lockdown restrictions by the 19th of July, the same date the government plans to have offered all adults their first jab.
I'd rather have it than get COVID.
I'm looking forward to come back to normality in life. As soon as it opened up, pretty much everyone jumped on it as soon as possible.
On Friday morning, vaccination appointments opened up to 18 to 20-year-olds. By the end of the day, more than 720,000 people booked theirs.
Pop-up campaigns like this are crucial to just get more people vaccinated. The more that we do to help support our local authorities and councils, and the more that we can do to make it convenient, offer choices to our public and residents, then I think that is the right way to go ahead.
In the latest 24-hour period, nearly 219,000 people received a first dose. 42.6 million people, or 81% of adults, have now had their first jab. Nearly 189,000 people have had their second dose of the vaccine in the latest 24-hour period. That means more than 31 million people, or 59% of UK adults, are now fully vaccinated. Meanwhile, those in England who have had both COVID jabs and come into contact with someone infected with the virus could be spared having to isolate for 10 days if trials that are underway prove effective. Ministers will no doubt be comforted by the success of the UK's vaccination programme, but they'll know too that news is mixed. Yesterday, the UK recorded more than 10,000 new confirmed infections for the third day running, with the Delta variant accounting for most of them. And surge testing is underway in some areas of South London and Cumbria in response to a rise in cases. Eligible adults are being urged to take up their vaccine as soon as possible. While the Prime Minister hasn't ruled anything out, he says he's confident there won't need to be a further delay to the lifting of England's lockdown restrictions. Sean Dilley, BBC News.
Seaside resorts are bouncing back faster than big cities when it comes to in-shop spending. That's according to new research from the Centre for Cities.
The survey suggests large urban centres are still struggling to attract shoppers, partly due to office employees continuing to work from home. Our business correspondent Katie Prescott has this report.
Remember this? Beaches in the UK a few weeks ago. And whilst the heat wave may be over for now, the warmth has stayed in the economies of seaside towns. They've seen a bigger bounce back in the number of visitors than in any other part of the country. In the last weekend of May, Blackpool saw its numbers up 147%. Southend, 134%. Bournemouth, 127%, and Brighton, 119%, boosted by weekend visitors to the beach.
But in our major cities, like here in London, it's a completely different picture. The trend here is for people to continue to work from home, so they're not in the centre spending money in the shops and cafes as they once were. And the Centre for Cities says that if this trend continues into the autumn, then our big cities will see an even bigger economic hit.
Smaller and medium-sized city centres have a much more local catchment area. So traditionally, where they're pulling their customers from is very much within very local distance. And the second thing, particularly with seaside towns, is that it appears that we are seeing a revisiting of the Great British Seaside, and we are seeing people going back to the seaside towns such as Blackpool and Brighton and Bournemouth, and taking advantage of both the good weather, but of course also the restrictions in terms of not being able to go abroad.
So while the seaside towns might start to suffer if the travel restrictions and the weather turns, for now the sun is shining in their favour. Katie Prescott, BBC News.
More than 800,000 jobs in the UK's travel sector could be at risk. That is the warning from a union representing aviation workers. The British Airline Pilots Association is appealing for urgent action from the government to end travel restrictions, which it calls ludicrously cautious. The government says it is working with the sector to navigate the challenges.
The best industry estimates at the moment are that aviation will take 4 to 5 years to recover, and some sectors of the market, for example, some business travel, probably won't recover for longer than that. So it's a devastating blow to the whole of the aviation sector, but that means trouble for the UK economy. If we don't have a thriving aviation sector, then instead of global Britain, we'll have grounded Britain.
The former Commons Speaker and Conservative MP John Bercow has revealed that he's joined the Labour Party. In a newspaper interview, Mr Bercow said the government needed to be replaced and called Boris Johnson's Conservative Party reactionary, populist and nationalistic. The government says his move isn't a surprise and it's continuing to pursue an ambitious agenda.
A service of remembrance will take place today to mark the first anniversary of the murders of 3 men killed in an Islamist attack in Reading. David Wales, Joe Ritchie Bennett and James Furlong were stabbed to death while sitting together in a park last summer. A campaign has now been launched to fund a permanent memorial to the trio.
The number of people who have died from coronavirus in Brazil has passed 500,000, the second highest death toll in the world after the United States.
Experts fear the outbreak will continue to worsen in the coming weeks because of slow vaccination rates and the start of winter. Mark Lobel reports.
As COVID deaths reach 500,000 here, the painful goodbyes continue. Brazil's health minister tweeted the grim news of the 500,000 lives lost, saying that he is working tirelessly to vaccinate all Brazilians in the shortest time possible and to change this scenario that has plagued Brazil for over a year. But some blame the government for that, accusing them of initially letting the virus spread to build up herd immunity and for rejecting masks and social distancing, leading to visible anger at this unenviable milestone. At these protests, replicated in dozens of cities across Brazil, there's particular fury aimed at one man, Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro, for his handling of this health emergency.
The feeling here is one of indignation. We can't stand it anymore. The government is worse than the virus.
He took too long to buy the vaccine. Herd immunity won't do any good. The only immunity you can get is with the vaccine. There's no other way. I've lost many friends, almost lost a cousin. Millions of people are orphans, fatherless, motherless and childless.
Reducing hospitalizations remains a challenge here, as in many parts of the world. With only 11% of the population fully vaccinated and 29% having had their first dose, and with winter on its way, Brazil's COVID fight remains fraught. Mark Lobel, BBC News.
There have been further warnings of wildfires for much of America's southwest as the region battles an intense heatwave. Mountain ranges across Arizona have been scorched and a state of emergency has been declared in California, where temperatures have climbed above 54 degrees Celsius. Residents have been urged to stay indoors and limit their use of energy and water after a severe drought left rivers and reservoirs running dry.
Wales will be looking to secure their place in the Euros knockout stage when they take on Italy in Rome later today. Wales have all but guaranteed their spot with 4 points so far, thanks to a draw with Switzerland and that win over Turkey earlier last week. Italy are already through to the last 16, having won their first 2 games. So good luck to them later on. Very exciting.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.